How are you guys doing? Can you all hear me loud and clear? Can you all hear me loud and clear? Okay, last class of the session, guys. Now, I want to quickly ask you, did you all appear for mid-assessment? Who all have appeared for mid-assessment? Who has appeared for the mid-assessment? Okay, so it seems no one has appeared for mid-assessment, so we'll try to conduct it. We'll decide the date today at the end of the class. Let's talk about the class then, guys. So in the last class, we discussed joins. Remember we discussed joins? And I'd given you 4 questions to work on joints as well. 4 or 5 questions. Now let me ask you guys, have you worked on the joint questions? Folks, can you hear me? Have you guys worked on the joints questions? So no one worked on these questions? Guys, were you guys there in the class when we discussed joins? Vishesh, Subhashis, Rashi, Prateek, Prasun. So what is, so remember these questions that we did, make a list of students and instruments they learn, the number of students, find the number of students learning piano, list the students who have not chosen an instrument. So I think we did all these questions in the class itself, right? Kaveri, did we do these questions in the class itself? Yeah, S1 and S2 concept as well. So make a list of students and instruments they learn. If you remember, we wrote it like this. Right? So join allows you to get access to information from both the tables. So here we're printing student information as well as we're printing information from the music table type. Right? Find the number of students learning piano in each class. In each class. Piano. So group by what? Anyone? Group by what? And then class comma what should I type here? Count. Count of, I can do count of ID, I can do count of class, I can do count of star. right? List the students who have not chosen an instrument. List the students who have not chosen an instrument.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm in a class. Sorry about that. Um, Students who have not chosen an instrument. That means we were looking for these are the students who have, so list of students from the student table who are not there in the music table, right? So that would mean the students who have not chosen an instrument, right? And when we do not in, that means there is no need to join, right? Because we don't need information from the other table. So there is no question of joining there. How about this? Make a list of students and the instruments they learn. Make a list of students and the instruments they learn, which is same as this. Make a list of students and the instruments they learn. The list should also contain the students without an instrument. The list should also contain the students without an instrument. This thing is same as the third question we just did. Students who are not playing any musical instruments, right? So basically the fourth question is nothing but union between the first question answer and the third question answer. Union between the two, but here there is a problem. Here there are three columns that we have selected here: the ID, the name, and the type. But here we have selected two columns, and in the union clause, the union clause will only work if the number of columns in both the select queries is same. So what should we do here? What should we write here, guys? That's right, Vishesh and Kaveri. Just pair or double quotes, the dummy column. This will give you the names. This will give you the list of students who are playing musical instruments and students who are not playing musical instruments. And this also includes the students, the type of musical instrument they are playing. Make sense? How about this question? List the pair of students from the same class without any repetitions of the pair. So that means unique pair. So how did we do this question, guys? Anyone who remembers it? List the pair of unique students from the same class. Anyone who remembers this? List the unique pairs of students from the same class. So this will give you S1.id 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 8, 1, 9, 1, 11, 1, 14. But if 1, 2 has happened, then 2, 1 will not happen. Right? So that's a unique pair. So order by 1 and 2 is nothing but order by first column and the second column. So S1.id, comma S2.id. Remember, in ordering, either we can write the column names or we can write the column sequence number after select. Is this making sense, guys? So that was the joining those were the joining exercises that we discussed. Now the next thing that we want to discuss today is DDL statements, and then I'll take your questions on the cases that you may have. So in the DDL statements, there are three statements that we will discuss: create, alter, drop, and in the DML statements, there are three more statements that we'll discuss: insert, update, and delete. If you remember, the full form of DDL statement was what? What was the full form of DDL statement? Data definition language statements, right? And what do we use it for? Shubham, Saket, or Shaikar? What do we use it for? We use it to make changes to the design of the tables. Remember, whatever we did in the design view, whatever we did in the design view is what we do over here using DDL statements. What I mean is, if you remember, we went to create, we created a table, then we went to the design view of the table, and then we made all these changes and we modified and we added columns, we created relationship between the tables. So whatever we did in the design, right? Created tables, created columns in the table, created relationship between the tables, added a column to an existing table, removed a column from an existing table. All those things that we did using DDL statements. Is it making sense? So, in order to demonstrate DDL statements to you, I'll open a blank database. Let's call it so one good question that Psychet has asked, if we can do those things without DDL statements, then why do we need the DDL statements? So the reason why we need the DDL statement is that, you see, whatever we have done using writing the query, we could have created those reports, or we could have done that data manipulation even without writing the queries. But the reason why we learned to code the queries is that we become platform independent. If you use the user interface to design the tables, then you become platform specific. That means The steps will not be same when you go to Oracle or when you go to some other MySQL database or some other database, right? But if you know the code, if you know how to write the commands behind the scene, then you become completely platform independent. You can work with any database then. Are you understanding this? Alrighty. So we'll go to create design. So remember that database that we create, remember that table, not table, sorry, the, let me open this. Remember this database model that we had created for books information portal, publisher, books, then authors, and then there was a many-to-many relation between books and authors. So we had created an author ISBN or author books table. So what we'll try to do is that we'll try to create the same model, but this time we'll use DDL statement to create it. So create table, okay. So whenever we write a DDL statement, so we write the command word, which is create in this case, and then we write the object name as well, then the object type as well, which is table, and then the name of the object. So first, what table should we create first? Should we create the parent table first, or should we create the child table first? So we create the parent table first. Parent table is the table which is on the one side of a relationship. For example, here between publisher and books, the parent table is the publisher table. So we'll create publisher table. Publishers, then open and closing bracket. And then here we'll define the data fields. We'll define the attributes. So let's say pub ID integer, pub name varchar. Now what is varchar? Any idea, anyone? Either we can define varchar text or char. So these are all data types. So this is the name of the field, this is the data type integer, then this is the name of the field and this is the data type. So the data type that I'm trying to create here is a character data type, and the character data type is limit between 0 and 255. So I can assign maximum as 255 characters. But what is varchar and text and char? So there is no difference in text and char. There is no difference between text and char, but there is a difference between varchar and text and char. Varchar means variable character. What I mean by variable character is that suppose if I assign the field pub name as varchar 100, That means the limit is 100, but depending upon the actual value of the pub name, the number of characters will be assigned in the memory. So let's say if you assign publisher, if you give publisher name as Rupa and Company, which takes only 8 characters, then in the memory, how many characters will be assigned? In the memory, only 8 characters will be assigned, and that will happen only if you have assigned the data type as varchar. But if you assign the field as text or char, then what happens is, irrespective of the actual value that is entered, whether you enter Rupa and Company, whether you do Tata, McGraw and Hill, or whether you enter Penguin, it will still allocate 100 characters in the memory. So in both the cases, in case of varchar or in case of text or char, in both such cases, the limit is 100, but the difference is that in varchar, the memory allocation is dynamic depending upon the length of the actual field that you're entering, whereas in text and char, the memory allocation is fixed. Irrespective of the length of the field, it will assign 100 characters. Did you understand this? Right? So varchar is dynamic memory allocation and text and char is static memory allocation. So you may think that it's always good to assign varchar because it optimizes the memory, right? It takes lesser space. However, it's not true, because you see with varchar there is extra overload on the processing of the system. Every time you enter the data, the system will actually calculate the total length of the character, total length of the string, and then accordingly allocate the memory. So that means you're making the system work harder, because for every varchar field, every time someone enters the data, it'll actually calculate the number of characters in the field. Does it make sense? Okay. Now he's asking about auto increment field or auto number field. So you can suppose if I want to make pub ID as auto number field. So here instead of auto number, you write auto increment, and then that becomes your auto number field. Now look at this constraint. So what I've done here with this statement is that I have made pub ID as the primary key of this table. Do you see this? What I've done here is that I've applied a constraint on this table, and the constraint is that the pub ID field is the primary key of this table. Okay. Now, but what exactly is this pub underscore pk? So this pub underscore pk is nothing but a name given to the fact that pub ID is the primary key. So what happens is that if I drop this pub underscore pk constraint, then I'm just dropping the fact that pub ID is the primary key, but I'll not drop the column pub ID. I get your point. So this way, what I've done is that I've given a name to the constraint pub ID primary key, right? Suppose if I run this statement, now the moment DDL statement runs, it just runs without giving any warning. So if it has run, so you will see that the publisher table has been created. And if I go to the design view of the publisher table, pub ID has been assigned as the primary key of this table as well. You can see the key symbol right next to it, right? Now, just to demonstrate, what happens the moment you assign, the moment you do, you create a constraint tag like pub underscore pk. Say for example, I create one more query here. I mean, one more statement here. Alter. Remember, there are multiple statements, right? Create, alter, and drop. Create is to create that. Create is used to create the tables, create columns in the tables, create relationship between the tables as well. And alter is used to modify any design. That means, suppose if you want to add a new column to an existing table, if you want to remove a column from an existing table, if you want to remove a relationship between two tables, or if you want to add a new relationship between two tables, if you want to remove a constraint within a table, so any design changes that we would typically do in the design view of the table would be done using alter statement. Alter is used with add, alter with alter, and alter with drop. So you can use alter with 3 subcommands. Alter with add to add a new column or add a new constraint, add a new relationship. Alter with alter to modify an existing data type of a column. Alter with drop to drop a column. Yes, in some databases, instead of alter, we call it as modify as well. So alter table and let's say publishers. Now what do we want to alter? We want to drop the constraint. Suppose I want to remove the fact that pub ID is the primary key. I want to drop the fact that pub ID is the primary key. I want to keep the pub ID column there, but only remove the fact that pub ID is the primary key. So drop constraint. And what constraint should we drop? What constraint should we drop? Which constraint should we drop, guys? So we need to drop the primary key constraint. And what is the name of that primary constraint? Pub underscore pk. So if I drop this, again it runs successfully. If DDL statement runs successfully, it does not give any prompt. Now if I go to the publisher table and the design view, see pub ID is no longer the primary key. Do you notice this? Pub ID is no longer the primary key of this table. So that is the advantage of creating a constraint like this. If you give a name to the constraint, then you get a flexibility, you get an option to remove the constraint without affecting the column. So the pub ID column is still there in the publisher table, but the only fact that has been removed is the fact that pub ID is the primary key. Is it making sense? Yeah, so in order to assign the pub ID as primary key again, then what can we do? So what we can do is that, let's say I want to create a composite primary key this time. Okay, I want to create a composite primary key, composition of pub ID and pub name as the primary key. So alter table publisher add, we are adding a new constraint, and let's give it the same name. Let's say you can give it the same name because we removed it already. Primary key, and this time I write pub ID comma pub name. So this way what I've done is that now I'm creating a composite primary key, and if I run it again, it runs successfully. Now, if I go to the design view of the publisher table, I can see that I can see pub ID and pub name both have keys next to it, which means that they are now composite primary key of this table. Does it make sense? Now, suppose if I remove it again, so it would have removed the primary key. Say it's gone. If you're noticing, I'm closing the publisher table each time before I run the DDL statements, because you can't make design changes to a table as long as it is open. It will give you an error saying that the table is already in use. Now I'm adding again a constraint, same constraint. Let's verify that. So now pub ID is the primary key of this table, right? The original state. So this way, when you create the constraint name like this, you can modify this in the future. Now let me show you one more time how do we create tables. So this time I'll create the books table. This titles table is nothing but the books table. ISBN. Now should I assign ISBN as varchar? Should I assign ISBN as varchar or char? Which one? Give me a second. So we should assign it as char. The reason is that it's pretty much fixed. It's fixed. We know that ISBN is not going to be more than 10, 12 characters. So why should we make the system work so hard? And let's say title, I put a constraint here saying not null. What we mean by not null here is that if I make title as not null, then what will happen? What do you guys think? What will happen? It cannot be left blank. No blank entries allowed for the title field, right? Should have a value. So it becomes a mandatory field, like an asterisk, red asterisk field. And let's say there is a column here called as PID. Why are we creating PID column here or pub ID column here? This will be the column which will be treated as foreign key. And what will be the data type of PID? Integer. Because it is integer in the other table, in the parent table. Now, in this table, there are at least two constraints. What are those two constraints? So there is the first constraint is that ISBN is a primary key, and the second constraint is that PID is a foreign key. So constraint, let's say we'll call it this. By the way, this you can name anything, okay? You can give your girlfriend's name as well if you wish. You can write anything there. Now you got to be careful with the spellings. Foreign key. What is the foreign key here? Is this sufficient? What is missing here is that you see, remember we used to drag the column from one table to the other table, and we used to put it onto the other table specific column. So what that referencing is missing. So constraint this. So we have not told here, we have not told SQL that which table does it refer to, or is this table related with. So books underscore FK foreign key PID references. There is a keyword again. You got to be careful with the spelling. References. Which table? What is the name of the table? Which table does it refer to? Publishers. And which column within the publisher table? Pub ID. That's right. So look at this. Books underscore FK foreign key PID references publishers table, and within the publisher table it refers to the pub ID field. Right? Let's create one or two more constraints. I'll create one more constraint called as constraint books underscore unique, and I'll make the title field as unique. Unique meaning that it will not have repetitions. I'll put one more constraint here. Let's say it's called as check, and I'll say EDNO, or let's say price is greater than 0. That means the price column cannot, price field cannot be, I mean, it has to be greater than 0. It can't be less than 0. Now if I run this statement, so again it runs successfully. Now let's open the books table. Let's go to the design view of the books table, and let's see all these things. So the PID is there and so forth. Now let's go to the relationship window, and you will see that the publisher table and the books table are now interrelated through PubID and PID. Do you see this? Clear, guys? So unique title, what means is, this basically means that I have made the title field. Remember the title field here? I made the title field as unique column. Unique meaning that it will not have repetitions. So if you look at the indexing of the unique column, which is title, you will see that it is indexed as no duplicates. That means no duplicates are allowed because we have made it as unique column. Does it make sense? So now you know how to create tables, how to create columns in the tables, how to find define different constraints on the columns of the table. You also know how to alter the statements. Okay, alter with add, alter with drop, alter with alter. Um, if you want to alter a new, suppose if you want to add a new column, then we'll write alter column and the column name and the column data type. So column name, let's say, is pub phone, and let's say is text 10. So if you run it, so this column has been added here. The field size is 10, right? Clear, guys? Not int 10. There is nothing as int 10, Sanket. The reason why int 10 doesn't make sense is integer means that automatically, you're defining the number of bytes there, right? Because integer can take a value between minus 32,767 to plus 32,768 or something like that, right? So when you define one of the number data types, then you don't decide the number of digits in a number. And you see pin code, zip code, phone number, these, even though they are number, but they should not be stored as number because you're not going to do any calculations on them. So these kind of numbers, we store them as text. I get your point. What do you mean by integer is stored for long text? When character is big. Character is big meaning when the string is big, is it? So when you're saying when the string is large, not able to understand what you're saying. So see, guys, simple. You see, I mean, what you need to remember without complicating your thought process is that these numbers which are not treated as numbers should ideally be stored as text, because then it helps you to define the number of characters that you can have it in. Okay. Now, I want to talk about one more thing. What if I want to drop a table which I have already created? So then you can drop table. Now, while dropping the table, should we drop the child first or should we drop the parent first? If you try to drop the parent first, it won't work. The reason why it will not work is that it will say that this table is already in relationship with some other table, or there are dependent tables on this. So while dropping, you have to drop the child table first. In this case, the child table is books table. But you can't, because this table is open right now, but otherwise you would have dropped the table. The table was open. If I close it and drop it, then it will drop it. So it's gone. And from the relationship window, you just have to close it and open it again. You can't see this. Does it make sense? Clear, guys? Now, I want to show you one more interesting stuff. See, normally we use select only to extract information, right? But what if I want to create a table using selected data? Create a table using selected data meaning that means suppose you have extracted information from the suppose you have extracted information using select statement, right? And then what you want to do is that you want to export that selected data into a new table. For example, let's say these are the information that I have extracted. Suppose this is the information that we have extracted from the student table, right? And now this extracted information is just a output of a table, right? If the data changes in the table, then this extracted information will also change. But what if I want to save the output of this query into a new table? So here we will write into and then the name of the new table. Let's call that table as scholar table. So it says you're about to paste 5 rows into a new table. And then you will see that there is a table called as scholar table that gets created. See, scholar table, if I double click on it, then this, you can see the output. Now see, this is a table, okay? This is not a query anymore. If I go to the design view of this table, I can see the columns and I can see the data descriptions, data type descriptions and so on and so forth. And it doesn't have any SQL view into it because it's a table that we have just created it, right? So what we have done essentially here is that we've used select to create a query. We have used select to create a new table. Does all the column go into the new table? No. Only the selected columns go into the new table. The column that we selected here will go into the new table. Does it make sense, guys? Clear? So if someone asks you, can we create a table using select? So the answer is yes, you can create a table using select with the help of into. Make sense? So now we have discussed alter, we have discussed table drop, we've also discussed select into, we've discussed create. Now let's discuss the three DML statements: insert, update, and delete. Suppose you want to insert a new row into the table that we just created. Suppose this scholar table, we want to insert some new rows. So insert into scholar table and the columns. Insert into this, and the values that we want to insert, you can give any values. So what will happen is that it will insert this new row in the scholar table. So we're about to append one row. Now if I open the scholar table again, so you can see the new row that we just created. Look at this query again. Insert into scholar table the columns and the values against those columns. Now here there are a couple of varieties, okay? You can optionally remove the columns as well. But then you'll have to remember the sequence. You can't, you can't change the sequence here, because if you, let's say if you put ABCD first and then 1000 second, then it will put the ABCD under the integer column, which is not something that you wanted, right? So then you'll have to remember the column sequence number. Does it make sense? So this way you can insert one row at a time. You can insert one row at a time. What if you want to insert multiple rows? So that doesn't work here. This won't work. So if you want to insert multiple row at a time, then that data should reside in one of the tables in the database. And then what you can do is that you can extract information from that table using select, and then that selected rows that you have extracted, then you can insert those selected rows into a new table, into an existing table. What I'm trying to say is that yeah, that's what I'm saying. In Access it doesn't work. So suppose you have extracted, suppose you want to see, earlier we in the scholar table we had we had created the scholar table with the students who had gotten more than 95. But let's say I want to now insert those students who have gotten between 90 and 95 to the scholar table. So where mtest between 90 and 95. So this will give me the list of students who have gotten between 90 and 95 in M-test. Now this is what I want to insert into the existing scholar table. So what I'll write is insert into scholar table, and instead of values that I would write the select statement. See, we normally write insert and then values, right? Insert into the name of the table and then values. Here, what I've written is insert into the table name, and then instead of values, I've written the select statement. So the select statement's output will be treated as the values. So if I run this statement now, so we're about to append 6 rows into the scholar table. Look at the scholar table now. So it now has those students as well who had gotten more than, gotten between 90 and 95. Make sense? Is it making sense, guys? So this way you can insert more than one row at a time to an existing table. The only thing here is that the data should exist in one of the tables in the database. You can add new data without using where clause too. That's not a problem. If you don't use where clause, then what will happen is that we'll insert all the data from the student table into the scholar table. Is it making sense? How about update? What will update do? What do you think this will do? Update branch is the name of the table. Set cities go to New York, directors go to Peter, where directors go to Amit. What will this do? Need responses from everyone. What do you think this will do? It's very easy. So two things will be updated. Okay, city column will be set to New York, and director will be set to Peter for the rows where the director's value is equal to Amit. I get your point. So suppose here in this table, I want to update students Prateek's M-test value to, sorry, I want to reduce student M-test Prateek's value by 10 points. Then how will I write the query? I want to reduce Prateek's M-test value by 10. So what will I write here? In the update statement, update scholar table set M-test is equal to M-test minus 10, where full name is equal to Prateek. So wherever it would find Prateek, it would change the value from whatever it was originally and reduce it by 10 points. Is it making sense? Clear, guys? And then finally, I want to talk about delete. Now what delete does is, delete from student where, let's say, so it'll delete all the rows where the full name is equal to Prateek. So will delete the records from the student table where the full name value is equal to Prateek. Okay. Does it make sense? So delete syntax is similar to select syntax. The only difference here is that in select you are selecting, here you're deleting. Dangerous statement, guys. Okay, all these make irreversible change to the database design. I get your point. They make irreversible change to the database design. Star meaning, I mean, basically we are not specifying any column, so we'll delete all the column information. Now let me ask you some questions, okay? Which statement will you use to remove a relationship between two tables? Which statement will you use to remove a relationship between two tables? Have we discussed extract statement? No. So which statement will be used to remove a relationship between two tables? Removing a relationship between two tables is a design change, right? So Prateek will not use drop alone, because drop alone is used to drop the entire table. But if you want to make a change within the table, then you will use alter with drop. See, the difference between drop alone is that drop alone is to drop the entire table, whereas if you want to make some changes within a table, that means drop a column, remove a column, or remove a relationship, then that will be done using alter with drop. Does make sense? So the answer here is alter and drop. How would you restrict certain values on a field? How would you restrict certain values on a field? Check constraint. That's right, Shubham. Check constraint. Check constraint helps you to limit the values within on a particular field. Check is same as validation criteria in the design view that we discussed. How about the third? How do you extract 10,000 customers information and upload them into a new table? How do you extract a lot of rows from an existing table and upload them into a new table? What set of commands would you use? How do you extract? That's right. So first you will select the data, which will help you to extract information, and then you select with into to extract them into a new table. How do you delete duplicate rows in SQL? How do you delete duplicate rows? So first you'll have to find, no, delete duplicate rows, Kaveri. So fourth and fifth question, okay, in the students, delete the students have the same names. So fourth and fifth question, I want you guys to do it at home, but I'll give you a hint. Okay. First, you'll have to find the names. First, you'll have to find the rows which are duplicate. So rows that will have duplicate will, so their IDs will also repeat or some information will repeat, right? So first, you have to find which are the rows which are duplicate, and then you'll have to delete the rows, delete those rows. So, probably you'll have to think a little bit. In the student table, delete the students who have same names. So first you have to find the names which are repeating, okay, or the students who have this repeating names, and then once you have their ID, then with those IDs, you'll delete them using delete statement. Okay. Alrighty, guys. I'm going to take 10 minutes break, okay? But and you can also take 10 minutes break. I've given you the commands to run these four things. You see these four questions: create the books and publisher table, insert two rows in the publisher table and two rows in the books table. Any two rows doesn't matter. Update one row in the books table. Delete all book rows. I've given you the commands already in the chat window. Try to do these things, okay? And I'm going to meet you in 15 minutes, okay? Take 5 minutes break, and then after that, try to run those commands again in a new database, in a blank new database, okay? Don't run in the database where the data is already. Run in a blank new database, and then let me know if you face any problem, okay? I'll see you in 10-15 minutes. Let me know if you guys are done, or give me your queries that you have written. Alrighty, guys. I hope you all are done. Any questions on these DDL statements? Create, alter, drop, insert, update, delete. If not, I want to ask you guys if you have any questions on the SQL cases that I had given you guys. I know I had uploaded the solutions for case 1 and case 2, but any questions on case 3? Yes, you can. You can. The only you can do something like this. However, the only issue with using this approach is that if in the future you want to remove the fact that pub ID is the primary key, then that flexibility you will not get. You will not get the flexibility of just dropping the constraint without dropping the column. Tell me what is the doubt on the data types? All right, guys. The other folks, any doubt on case 3, 4, or 5 that you want to discuss? Case third, fourth, and fifth. Case study fourth, third question. Create columns for pickup zone. No, so you're not supposed to do the third question using SQL anyways. It says clearly write the SQL queries for question second, fourth, fifth, and seventh. Don't try to do the other questions using SQL. They may be very difficult to do them, and it's a mixed case study. I mean, it's this case study required. So through this case study, the client was trying to test your Excel as well as SQL skills. So that's why they said that only do the queries second, fourth, fifth, and seventh using a SQL. Rest of the queries are supposed to do with Excel. Any other question from this case? I will upload the solution to case 4 and case 5. I'm also uploading the final project, SQL final project, putting a deadline. So here there are a few pending things from your side, okay? Please submit all the case studies if you have not done so. Submit meaning that you'll have to upload the solutions over here, okay? Submit the project that I gave you, the deadline is mentioned there. Appear for the mid assessment. So I'm going to take the mid assessment right now so that you don't have to, appear for it later. It's going to take 15 minutes. I don't think you guys have given the mid assessment. And then there is a final assessment that you have to appear for. And this final assessment, you can talk to your coordinator and then the coordinator can arrange you the final assessment, okay? It's an online assessment. You don't have to go to any center. It's a 1 hour assessment. So if you tell your coordinator one day before that you want to give the assessment but you have to give it during the work hours, work hours meaning, between 10 and 6 o'clock in the evening. Okay, but you have to let the coordinator know at least 1 or 2 days before the assessment that you want to give. but you should give the assessment. You need to give the assessment before 17 June. Okay. Now, guys, I'm going to take the mid assessment if you do not have any queries. Right now, it's going to take only 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and it's a very easy assessment. At least let's get done with the mid assessment. Guys, go ahead and give me your email IDs of give me the email IDs of the people who are present right now. Give me the email IDs, guys. Guys, please go ahead and join this class. Go to Google Classroom and join this class by giving this code. This is the class code. So when you go to Google Classroom, so suppose when you go to Google Classroom here, you will see there is a plus sign here which says create or join the class. Click on join class. When you join class, then it will ask for class code. Please enter this class code that I have just given you, X5BHEZ. X5BHEZ. Give that class code and then you click on join. When you click on join, then you'll be taken to this mid assessment class here. So guys, please go ahead and join the class by clicking. I see only 3 students have joined so far. Go ahead and join it. Have you guys understood how to join the class? Go to Google Classroom. When you go to Google Classroom, you will see on the top right hand side, join class. So I see 5 students are here. The class code is given in the chat window, X5BHEZ. 6 so far. 7. Vishesh, let me know if you're not able to do it. Then I'll send you the email ID. Then I'll send it to you over email. Okay, send the invite to Vishesh, Prateek, and Prasun. Please click on your. Please go to your email address and click on it. How about others? How about Kalyan? Okay. So guys who have joined the class, please go ahead and start giving the mid assessment. Okay. By 4:45. Okay. Please submit your assignment. And to submit the assignment again, just like how you turn in your assignments here, the same way you will turn the assignments. So Malya, but you're not there in the class. Have you joined the class? Somalia, you have to. This is a new classroom that I've created for the test specifically. Did you join it today, right now, Somalia? I don't see your name. Now check your mail, Somalia. Vishesh, you have not checked your mail, is it? Vishesh, Vishesh, check your mail. Saikat, you have not joined the classroom yet. Saikat, Arithro, how about you, Arithro? Jaideep, did you click on the email, Vishesh? I'm going to make you the presenter, okay? Share your screen. Let me see what you're doing. Vishesh, I made you the presenter. Share your screen. Arithro, what's the problem with you, Arithro? Arithro, you're not even giving me your email address. Arithro, are you there? Yeah, I can see your screen. Okay, no problem. Go to click on that. Yeah, go to back to classes. So you click on join your class. Click on that plus sign. Click on join. Okay, enter the code as. Wait, no. Enter the code as. Wait. X 5 BH B for Bombay, H for Hungary, E for elephant, Z for zebra. Then click on join. Go back to your email address where I sent you. where I sent you the invite. Click on join. Click on join. Okay, go back to classes. I think it joined already. Go to what's the email ID that you've logged in with? Can you see any other class? Have you ever joined any of my classes, Prasun, Vishesh? Were you there in the SQL class? But I don't see even the SQL class in your classes. Go back to Google Classroom. Click on the left hand side. No, not on Google Apps. Not there. Not over here on the left hand side on Google Classroom where it's written Google Classroom. Here, huh? Click. Go to classes. But it says there are no classes. Why don't you log out from this and log in with the email address that you log in into Google Classroom? Because if you were there, then I mean, there should have been at least the earlier class, right? Where is it? And Arithro and Prasun, I've sent you the link. Please go to your email address and join the class. Now see, there are so many of them. Open Google Classroom separately. Yeah, click on join. Click on join. There you go. Start working on it. Arithro, you have not joined yet. Sent you the email, Arithro, already. Prasun Chaudhary has also not joined, I think. Prasun? No, Prasun has joined. Arithro. Arithro, please go ahead and join the session. Alright, so let's start working on it. Guys, what is the status? Okay, let me check, Saptarshi. I can see five people. Somalia, you have submitted without giving your answers. Somalia. Where are the answers, Somalia? Okay, email it to me then. Trying to upload, yeah, upload it. Prashun, Saptarshi, Rashi, and Nikita, I can see your assignments. Try to first upload Somalia. It'll be easier for me. Okay, I can see Somalia's. I can see Shubham, Saptarshi, Dikita, Kaveri, Prasun, Khare, and Rashi. How about others? 7 people haven't done yet. 7 more minutes, guys. Rest of the people who have done, please you can log out. If you There are only a couple of things remaining now. One is the project, and second is the final assessment. So for the people who have done with mid assessment, only two things are remaining. The final assessment and the final project. The instructions are given in that Google Classroom, not this one, the other one. Prasun Chaudhary, Aritra De, Prateek Sachdeva, Nitish Sonkar, Kalyan Singaroy, Vishesh. These are the six people who are still remaining. So only three people are still remaining: Vishesh, Aritro, and Prasun. Guys, please go ahead and upload your answers. People who are done can leave. I'll see you guys when I see you next, but don't forget to work on the assignments that I gave you. Yep, the class is over. Today was the last class. Should you have any questions, please do feel free to ask me on WhatsApp. Yeah, I can see it, Aritro. Everyone has submitted. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. Have a good one. So the class is officially over, but if you go to the Google Classroom for this class, you will see the two assignments which are still remaining. One is the final project and one is the final assessment. Please do work on it, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Take care. Bye bye.